Hi, welcome to the Hollywood Bible. I'm Stan Harrington, and today we're talking about specificity. And the reason I chose specificity is because I was influenced by what's going on today. I don't know when you're going to see this video, but currently we're in the middle of a pandemic and everyone's feeling a little untethered and edgy, out of control, you could say. And that's why I picked specificity. Because one thing specificity will do for your craft, your art, and your work environment is it will give you control. Now there's a lot of things I could have called it. I could have called it knowledge. I could have called it detail. But specificity requires knowledge and it requires detail. So it kind of funnels it all in. In fact, there is a show called Detail that's on one of the cable networks about basketball. And what it does is it takes players and it breaks down their moves and their plays. And the people, this is the beauty of the whole thing, the people that they choose to break down and do this detail are people that are relentless trainers, people that work harder than everybody else, like the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans. They're renowned for it. In fact, if you know Michael Jordan's story, you'll know that he didn't make his varsity team, but he worked harder than everybody else, first in the gym, last to leave, knew the history, knew the details, knew the nuances of the game, and he worked on it more than anybody else, and that's how he became the greatest player of all time, and that's how he could control his circumstances and his career and his game. This is what you can do as an actor. This is the kind of specificity that I'm talking about in training. Because we want you to be artists and not celebrities, because you cannot control if somebody likes you, but you can control how hard you work and how specific you get. If you get a script and you're an actor and somebody gives you the whole script and you have to read one passage and you just read that and learn that, you're not doing yourself any favors. Learn what goes before, learn what goes after, know what the author is really trying to say, find out how he connects to the other characters and to the theme and what his opinion of that theme is. Be specific, because that's what's going to separate you from the rest of the people. And this is something you can work on, and that's specific, and that's what gives you control. Now, what you do in rehearsal is what ends up on the camera or what ends up on stage. Usually, at least that's what people say, but I'm going to tell you something that you haven't heard before. What you don't do in rehearsal is what you'll see on the camera or what you'll see on the stage. Think about that for a sec, and we'll be right back. The Hollywood Bible is now available worldwide, guys, on Amazon, on Kindle and in paperback. But if you're like me and you don't really want to open up a device on a plane or in bed or on Hollywood Boulevard, get the paperback. It's got a little bit more information than the actual streaming series, and it makes a great gift if you know someone who wants to get into the business or be an artist. So fortify your soul, your spirit, yourself, and your dreams. And get yourself a copy of the Hollywood Bible, huh? So if there's any actors out there, or if you're an actor, I'm sure you've been in the situation or witnessed a situation where a casting director has looked and said, or given the note, don't act, or stop acting. I hate that saying. It's a stupid saying. But I get it, because it's not their craft, and so basically they're saying to you that you suck. And that's because undisciplined work is very obvious. That's why I say what you don't do is more obvious on stage or on screen than what you do, because when you do it well, it's seamless. And it doesn't matter what your craft is or what your art is. My brother does lead lighting, which is stained glass connected by lead, and all the bits of lead are soldered together. But his soldering is so precise, it's crazy. You can't even see it. It's just like one long piece of lead going all the way through. Before, we were using the analogy of basketball. The greatest shooter in our game is a guy called Stephen Murray. Or no, Stephen Curry, not Stephen Murray. And when you look at that game, it's full of guys that are so athletic and so tall and so fast. And this guy is short and non-athletic, but he seems to have all the time in the world to get his shot off. And he seems to be able to get it off from anywhere on the court. He makes it look so easy, you feel like you can go out and do it. If we apply it to acting, you take the greatest actors you know, Daniel Day-Lewis or Meryl Streep. When you're watching them, sometimes you don't even know you're watching them. You forget that it's them. You think that you're watching Lincoln. In fact, there's a story, I'm not sure if it's true or if it's a legend, but either way, the story applies, or the point applies, where he said he won't take the role unless he can prepare for it for 12 months. That's the kind of dedication you need. because that's the amount of time it takes to put in that kind of detail, that kind of focus, that kind of specificity where you can't even see the work. And it's the same thing with writing. You know, your writing has to be that specific, because a great writer doesn't leave anything to being random. Nothing is random, not the words, not the syllables, not the phrases, not the sentences, not even the names. You take a film like Agnes of God. Now, Agnes of God is about a nun who suffers from stigmata. Stigmata is a condition where people bleed from the extremities, the hands and the feet, in the same place that Jesus Christ bled from when he was nailed to the cross and crucified. Now, if you Google the name Agnes, you'll find that the meaning of the name Agnes is Lamb of God. Now, who's supposed to be the Lamb of God? It was Jesus Christ. So not even the names are random. Our greatest playwright in America, Arthur Miller, he writes a play like Death of a Salesman, which is made into a movie I don't know how many times. The two sons are called Biff and Happy. They're not names he picked out of a hat. They're not random. They're little bits of gold that you can build characters around. He's giving you information. Nothing is random. And that's what you need to do with your work. That's how specific you need to be able to control your environment, so that people don't turn around to you and say, excuse me, Mr. Michael Jordan or Mr. Kobe Bryant or Mr. Stephen Curry. Not Stephen Murray. Do you mind taking a pay cut next season instead of, an extension? Or, excuse me, Mr. Actor, Mr. Day-Lewis, do you mind not acting? No, don't act. I still can't get over that. That is so ignorant. I hate that. We'll be back. I can't take this.
Come join the Stella Adler family of great actors, writers, directors, and producers.
Stella Adler has produced the finest actors that we have today.
Brando, De Niro,
Selma Hayek,
Benicio del Toro,
Sean Astin,
Susan Sarandon,
Henry Winkler in The Fonz.
Warren Beatty. What more do you need?
We're very proud of what has been accomplished.
People come from across the United States and around the world to the Stella Adler Los Angeles.
It's a technique that you can actually learn. It's a technique that you can actually understand. It's a technique that's actually doable.
So we hope to see you soon.
They really know what they're doing.
So some time ago, I was asked to do an opening commencement speech at a film festival that was going to be held at downtown Disney. And I thought, this sounds like fun. Because I had done seminars before, universities and conferences, but I'd never done an opening commencement speech. So I thought, sure, Disney, film, filmmakers, great. What do I talk about? And I had just got back from Atlanta where I was in a film about bad cops. And the filmmaker who made the film decided to post a couple of stills on a website or a forum. And this forum was designed for filmmakers and people in the community who basically get together and discuss everything to do with film and filming. So basically they start tearing apart this guy's photo. He had really just put it up there so that people could see the intensity of the scenes, but they're breaking it down into rolling shutter, which is something I'd never heard of before, and down to the very molecule. And I got really upset because I'm a content guy. And I felt like responding and saying, guys, he's trying to show you the intensity of the scenes. It's not about the technical. But then I had to stop. I pulled back for a sec and I thought, no, this is something. There's something to this. And so when I did my commencement speech, I related this story. And when I got to this point, I said, guys, the science of filmmaking and cameras has gotten to this point. 20 years ago, we needed $1 million to buy a camera or to rent a camera long enough to be able to make a movie. Now we can do one on an iPhone. In fact, at the time, I think the year before, there was a film festival called Sony Tropfest where the winning film was shot on an iPhone. The very first digital camera that took my picture when I came here in the 90s, late 90s, was 2 megapixels. My iPhone has 5 or 10 times that much. That's how far the science has come. Because these guys are dedicated to their craft. They're nerds. They get so into it. They're so detailed. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I say that with the utmost respect, that that's how much dedication they have and specificity and detail they have to their craft. And I said to the filmmakers at that time, if you can do that with your acting, if you can do that with your writing, that's where the magic is. That's where the magic is. We talked about all these different people in all these different fields getting to the top. Well, you can do just as much work and not get as far as they did because you're not as detailed and you're not as focused. That's the kind of focus and detail you need. That's how specific you need to be. Thanks for joining us on the Hollywood Bible. We'll be back next week.